how do we not fall into, and so if I could do like a parallel with like the broader LGBT movement, you know, a lot of that became sort of the broader movement became about sort of normalizing LGBT people. Yeah, like we're just like you, give us rights. How do we not fall into the trap of normalizing people so that you know, people who are like lower income or who are more disenfranchised and marginalized fall through the cracks, right? Because in the broader gay movement, I see that it's, you know, like when we think about like marriage, you know, as being the broader, the political platform, or don't ask, don't tell, it actually, we lose in the cracks sort of the most marginalized people of the community who, you know, are just thinking about how do I keep a roof over my head, so how do we not fall sort of into that trap?
So you're basically talking about, you're asking about how do we bring race and class into the conversation that is lacking right now?
Perfect.
Yes. So that's a really good question. I remember being in the University of Georgia in Athens 2 months ago. And I gave a talk and I invited like college Republicans and college Democrats, right? Bipartisan is very important. And the first question was from this young man who's 20, Gustavo, who raised his hand and he said, so when you came out, I ended up going on Google and reading everything you ever wrote. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then he goes, but Jose, I'm not as smart as you. I don't know if I'm gonna win, like, you know, that Pulitzer thing. Like, do I have to be as successful as you are? And that, like, can you imagine he asked this in front of like 500 people? And it literally, like, I felt like my heart was just like breaking right in front of me. Because I was thinking, and the way we talked about immigration right now in the DREAM Act in particular, we talk about the model minority people. We talk about the Pulitzer Prize winners, the valedictorians, the people that we want, oh, why do we want an engineer or a lawyer, right? Or a doctor? And I understand the need to do that. I understand the need to talk about that because guess what? In Alabama, where I was at for 2 weeks, they don't even know what the hell Filipino is. Like, the conversation about immigration is stuck in like the first paragraph. They're like, we're not all Mexicans, period. We didn't just land outside of Home Depot yesterday, period. Right? The conversation is still there. But to get to what you're talking about, which is what? The humanity in this. Right? Gay people, like undocumented people, are just like everybody else. We're no smarter, we're no dumber, we're no more heroic, we're no less mercenary. We're just like you. Because we are. But I think the conversation that hasn't gotten started, look at Occupy, right? I'm sorry, man, but there are some people who got 3 jobs that they don't have time to occupy anything. They got rent to pay, right? And so it's gonna take us. To me, what gets me optimistic about it is a matter of demographics. We are living in the golden age of coming out. More and more people will come out every day within their own social networks. And you know, we really thank Facebook and Twitter and YouTube for this. Go on YouTube and type undocumented, and all these kids from all backgrounds say, hi, I'm undocumented, I'm basically not what you think I am, right? And what social media is basically doing is testing everybody's empathy quotient. It's testing people's empathy quotient. And as more and more queer LGBT people come out and say that, oh, by the way, we're also undocumented people. Check out a project online called UndocuQueer, Undocumented and Queer. How they're trying to integrate LGBT issues in the immigration conversation. I have 5 minutes left. Okay, questions? Yes?
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm here with my friend NYU International Community. And
Great.
I'm studying journalism.
Good.
And so I just wanted to know, can you just talk more about your experience being a Filipino working in that field? Because myself, I've worked several internships at major publications, and I will be the only.
What do they think you are? Like Dominican?
Well, they always ask me.
What's your last name?
Rodolfo.
Okay.
So they do offer, because when they see my resume, then they don't know what I am. ethnic. It's not like, you know, a particularly Filipino last name or anything. And then when I go there, I'm always the only like Filipino or Asian person outside the office full of white people, and it's just like, they don't know what to ask me, or, you know what I mean? And I just, for a period of time, I can identify with you, like, kind of trying to learn the American accent. Just for me, I tried to learn, like, white culture, just because I felt so alienated at some point. And then, I mean, like, I'm past that point, but I just...
If you're Filipino, when I was growing up, do you go white or do you go black? I go orange hill or I go Sarah McLaughlin? How do I talk to PR and figure out America Baduits? That was my first question. But yes, that's
So I just kind of want to hear more about your experience as a journalist and being Filipino, and I feel like my goal is to kind of always give back to the Filipino community, kind of like what you did on your story, because I feel like a journalist is, they're going to cover what is related to them, you know what I mean?
But, I mean, by the way, there are people in this room like Momar Messiah is here. Momar! Wait, where's Momar? I don't know where he is. Oops, he's not here. But there are some Filipino journalists that do such a good job covering Filipinos because no one else does it. I remember being at the Washington Post, like literally they didn't know what the hell to make. They had no idea. And in college, I majored in political science and African American studies. They're like, well, what's that? Because I figured I had enough white studies from the culture that I didn't study African American studies, right? You know, the biggest thing that I had to really tell myself is I had to be my own institution. To me, the craziest thing about this is from a demographic perspective. Did you know, by the way, that there are like 4.1 or so million Filipinos in this country? From a numerical demographic perspective, it's Mexicans, Chinese, and then us. And in some ways, we're probably the most invisible minority in the country. Again, outside of Jessica Sanchez and outside of Manny Pacquiao, what else do we have? And now you have this TNT guy, and they're like, who is this guy? So, to me, as a journalist, I just had to really be censored and try to block out all the noise. Because a lot of that is noise. A lot of the kind of like, how do I fit in this mostly white male-dominated culture, and then you start thinking yourself out, you're like, I don't belong here. And you know, when I was like, oh God, I'm not paper, I'm supposed to really be here, right? Is it literally getting centered and saying, like, what am I really about? What are my goals? And instead of thinking how you fit within them, the question really is how do they fit within you? That's the bigger question. Do they fit in your value set? Right? I think that's the more important question. Okay, I think one more question. From the very, very back, sir.
Oh, okay. My name's Alex. I'm from
Can
Fine.
you stand up?
Oh.
What's up?
So my name's Alex. I'm from Fine, the Filipino Intercollegiate Networking Dialogue. I just wanted, I understand you're doing this project of how do you define American. So I just wanted to ask you the question yourself. How would you define American?
Thank you. I define American as somebody who works hard. I define American as someone who contributes to this society. I define American as someone who considers this country their home. That to me is America. And two more things, because that's the last question, unfortunately. Two more things. I remember when Ron Paul, who used to cover, said that we should abolish birthright citizenship, right? Because all these Mexicans were giving births to American citizens, right? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, you know what, Ron Paul, let's do it. Let's actually get rid of birthright citizenship. What if everybody in this country actually had to earn being an American?